your heart is working right now, keeping you alive. But what if I told you that some of the warning signs it gives, some of the quiet, almost unnoticeable symptoms, could be the key to preventing disaster? And what if ignoring them could cost you everything? Today, we're uncovering the 9 warning signs of high blood pressure that most people overlook until it's too late. One of these could be happening to you right now, and you wouldn't even know it. But by the end of this video, you'll be able to recognize them, understand what they mean, and take action before it's too late. So if you care about your health, your life, or your loved ones, stay with me, because this could change everything. And before we dive in, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Your heart will thank you later. Now, let's start with something shocking. High blood pressure is called the silent killer for a reason. It doesn't always make a dramatic entrance. It sneaks up on you, slowly damaging your arteries, your heart, your brain, without you feeling a thing. That's why so many people walk around completely unaware, thinking they're fine, while their body is trying to send subtle distress signals. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. The first sign is something you might have felt before, but brushed off as just stress, or a bad night's sleep. Oyster! But what if it wasn't? Let's talk about headaches. Not just any headache, these feel different. They tend to hit in the morning, almost as if your brain is waking up under too much pressure. That's because high blood pressure can cause small changes in the blood vessels in your brain, leading to tension, discomfort, and even pounding pain. But here's the real danger. Most people just take a painkiller and move on. They never ask why. If your headaches feel different, if they seem to be worse in the morning or come with dizziness, that's your body telling you something. And speaking of dizziness, this is another symptom that gets ignored all the time. How many times have you felt lightheaded and just blamed it on standing up too fast or not eating enough? But here's the truth. Dizziness could be a sign that your brain isn't getting enough oxygen because high blood pressure is restricting blood flow. And that's not something to take lightly. Imagine standing up, feeling the room spin, grabbing onto something just to stay balanced. It's not just an inconvenience. It could be a warning that your heart is struggling. But here's where it gets even scarier. High blood pressure doesn't just affect your head. It can show up in your vision too. Have you ever noticed sudden blurred vision or tiny spots floating in your eyes? It's not just your eyes getting tired. It could mean that the tiny blood vessels in your eyes are being damaged, and that's a serious problem. In fact, people with uncontrolled high blood pressure are at a higher risk of permanent vision loss. So if your vision ever seems off, don't ignore it. Now let's talk about something most people would never connect to their heart: nosebleeds. You might think nosebleeds are just caused by dry air or allergies, but when they start happening out of nowhere, especially if they're heavy or frequent, they could be another clue. High blood pressure can weaken the blood vessels inside your nose, making them more likely to rupture. And while one random nosebleed isn't a cause for panic, if they keep happening, your body might be trying to tell you something. But what about something even more subtle? Something you wouldn't even think to link to your blood pressure? Fatigue. The kind of tiredness that lingers even after a full night's sleep. The kind where you wake up already feeling drained. High blood pressure forces your heart to work harder than it should, wearing your body down over time. You might not notice it at first. You just feel sluggish, unmotivated, like you need more coffee to get through the day. But when your body is constantly running under stress, that exhaustion is your warning sign. And then there's chest pain. This one is obvious, right? But here's the problem. When people think of chest pain, they imagine dramatic, crushing pain, like in the movies. But high blood pressure doesn't always work that way. The discomfort can be mild, like pressure or tightness in your chest that comes and goes. Some people feel it in their shoulders or their back. The danger? They ignore it, thinking it's just muscle tension or stress. But when your heart is under strain, those small warning signs could be your only chance to prevent something worse. And that brings us to one of the most overlooked symptoms: shortness of breath. Have you ever walked up a flight of stairs and felt more winded than usual? Or struggled to catch your breath even when you weren't doing much? High blood pressure can make it harder for your heart to pump blood effectively, leading to fluid buildup in your lungs. And when that happens, even simple activities can feel exhausting. If you ever feel like you can't quite take a deep breath, pay attention to that. Now, this next symptom is one that surprises most people: ringing in the ears, also known as tinnitus. It's that persistent, high-pitched noise that seems to come out of nowhere. You might think it's from loud music or just something you have to live with. But did you know high blood pressure can actually contribute to tinnitus? It happens because elevated pressure affects blood flow to your ears, leading to changes in your hearing. So if you've noticed ringing in your ears that won't go away, your heart might be trying to warn you. Let's talk about something that's not just a symptom. It's a sign of damage already happening: swelling in your legs, feet, or hands. When high blood pressure starts affecting your circulation, fluid can build up where it shouldn't, leading to puffiness and swelling, especially in the lower body. Some people notice their shoes feeling tighter or their rings leaving marks on their fingers. It might seem harmless, but it could mean your heart is struggling to keep up. Every second your heart is working to keep you alive, but is it getting the support it needs? High blood pressure, poor circulation, and clogged arteries are silent killers, and most people don't realize the danger until it's too late. Don't wait for a wake-up call. Check the pinned comment now and discover how to naturally protect your heart before it's too late. Now that you know the warning signs, the next step is even more important. What can you actually do to lower your blood pressure and protect your heart? Because here's the truth. High blood pressure doesn't happen overnight. It builds up slowly, silently, through the choices you make every single day. But the good news? Just like it builds up, it can also be reversed. Let's start with something simple: your diet. Most people don't realize just how much the food they eat is pushing their blood pressure higher. The worst offender? Sodium. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't even use that much salt, but here's the catch. Over 70% of the sodium people consume doesn't come from the salt shaker. It's hidden inside processed foods, restaurant meals, and even things you wouldn't expect, like bread and cereal. And when there's too much sodium in your system, your body holds on to extra fluid, making your heart work harder. That's why one of the easiest and fastest ways to lower blood pressure is cutting back on processed foods and focusing on whole, fresh foods instead. But sodium isn't the only thing to watch out for. Sugar is just as bad, if not worse. Most people think of sugar as just an issue for weight gain or diabetes, but research shows that high sugar intake can directly raise blood pressure. It leads to insulin resistance, inflammation, and stiffens the arteries, making it harder for blood to flow properly. The problem? Sugar is everywhere, even in foods marketed as healthy, like granola bars, yogurt, and fruit juices. That's why one of the best things you can do for your heart is to drastically cut down on added sugars. Now, let's talk about something that's just as important as what you take out of your diet, what you add in. And one of the most powerful things you can add? Potassium-rich foods. Why? Because potassium helps balance out the effects of sodium, relaxing the blood vessels and keeping your blood pressure in check. The best sources? Leafy greens, avocados, bananas, sweet potatoes, and beans. The more of these you include, the better your heart will function. But food is only one piece of the puzzle. Another major factor? Movement. And before you tune out thinking this means hours in the gym, let me tell you something. Lowering your blood pressure isn't about extreme workouts. It's about consistency. Even simple activities like walking for 30 minutes a day can make a massive difference. In fact, studies show that regular movement can be just as effective as some blood pressure medications. The key is making it a daily habit. And speaking of daily habits, here's something that might shock you. Your sleep plays a huge role in blood pressure. When you don't get enough sleep, your stress hormones stay elevated. Your blood vessels don't get a chance to relax, and your blood pressure stays high. But it's not just about how long you sleep. It's about quality. If you're waking up exhausted, snoring loudly, or feeling like you never really rest, you might have sleep apnea, a hidden cause of high blood pressure that millions of people have without realizing it. If you suspect this might be you, getting tested could be a game changer. And that brings us to one of the biggest hidden triggers of high blood pressure: stress. It's no secret that stress makes everything worse, but did you know it can actually cause temporary spikes in blood pressure? And over time, those spikes add up, putting strain on your heart. But here's the problem. Most people don't even realize how much stress they're carrying until it's too late. That's why learning to manage stress is just as important as diet and exercise. Simple techniques like deep breathing, meditation, or even just taking time to unplug from screens and be in nature can have a massive impact. Now there's one more major factor we need to talk about, something that millions of people do every single day that silently raises their blood pressure: smoking. Even if you only smoke occasionally, the damage it does to your arteries is serious. Every single cigarette temporarily spikes your blood pressure and damages the blood vessels. And over time, those temporary spikes turn into permanent damage. The good news? The moment you stop, your body starts to heal. Within weeks, your circulation improves, and within months, your risk of heart disease drops dramatically. But here's the most important thing to remember. None of this matters if you don't take action. Because knowing the symptoms, knowing the risks, knowing what you should do, it's not enough. What matters is what you do next. So, let's make this simple. Right now, take one step. Just one. Maybe it's swapping out a processed meal for a home-cooked one. Maybe it's going for a short walk. Maybe it's setting a reminder to go to bed earlier tonight. Whatever it is, commit to it, because small changes add up. And the sooner you start, the more time you give your body to heal. And if you found this information valuable, don't stop here. There's so much more you need to know to fully protect your heart. So, click on the next video on your screen now. Your health depends on it.